My name's Sheen. I'm at the Lord Mountbatten Boxing Club in Portsmouth, and this is the first episode of Outside of the Box. I am delighted to be joined by Miss Eboniejones. Ebony, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks for coming down today. We appreciate it. Right. So, a little tradition. This is the first episode today. What I'm going to start doing with my guests is I fire a thing out that's called Outside of the Box, Out of a Cannon. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll ask you a number of questions and you just need to answer what's what from there.
Okay.
Ready? So, Primani or Armani?
Primani.
Primani.
Cheaper.
Good shout.
Get more for your money.
Do get value. Marbella or Bognor?
Marbella. Well, I've never been.
You sure with that one?
I've never been to Marbella, but I'd rather go there, yeah.
Marbella, cool. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs. Have you got a dog?
No.
Okay. 3-course meal or 1-course kebab?
3-course meal.
3-course meal. Cool. Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Netflix.
Using there quick with that one. Frank Bruno or Anthony Joshua?
Frank Bruno.
Frank Bruno. Okay.
I like the old school boxers.
Do you? Not a fan of Joshua?
I do like Joshua. I do like... Well, it's hard to choose between them two.
We'll make the decision, please. Frank Bruno or Anthony Joshua?
Frank Bruno.
Okay. Onesie or dressing gown?
Dressing gown.
Dressing gown.
Or when I'm called a house coat.
House coat, cool. Christmas on the beach or Christmas with your family?
Christmas with family.
Sure?
Yeah.
Even in this winter that's coming up?
Yeah.
Cool. This is a good one. I think you'll like this one. Crocs or Skechers?
Crocs. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, definitely Crocs.
Crocs?
Yeah.
Have you got a pair of Crocs?
No, I haven't, but I've got a lot of flip-flops, sliders, something, let your feet breathe.
Okay. This is a good one. Sideburns or a goatee?
Sideburns.
Not a fan
Not
of
a
goatees?
fan of goatees, no.
Okay, cool. Austin Powers or Dr. Evil?
Austin Powers.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have gone Dr.
It
Evil.
freaks me out a bit.
Who, Dr. Evil?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Nice one, thanks very much. That was Out of a Cannon. So, we're going to start off with a little bit about your amateur boxing career. If you could tell me a little bit about that, how many amateur fights you had, and I know you're from a kickboxing background, aren't you? But how you first stepped into the gym and put a pair of gloves on.
So I started kickboxing when I was 10. Me and my dad was watching a documentary of these kids doing Thai boxing, and he said, Ebony, I'll take you along to kickboxing if you really want to go. Started kickboxing with Luke Carter in Portsmouth.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know Luke.
My brother started with me and stuff, but then I just sort of carried it on and I loved it. And I'd done that till about the age 12, 13, I'm sure.
Okay.
And then I just switched over to boxing, obviously, because Luke used to show me like how to move like Tyson and stuff like that. And I was just ended up punching more than I was kicking. But female boxing was in the Olympics for the first time in 2012. So I thought, I want to change over to that. Like, say you win an ABA title in boxing, everyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
It's recognised. Whereas, say, kickboxing, there's lots of different organisations, and
Did you have many kickboxing fights?
Do you know what? I think I had about 10.
Okay.
I can't really remember. So yeah, I went to boxing. I went to all the gyms in Portsmouth. I've been to Moneyfields. I was at Stacey for a bit.
Yeah.
And then I ended up at Hart Portsmouth. I had 65 fights, 160.
That was your record? You had 65 fights, 160?
Yeah, I started boxing internationally when I was 15.
Yeah.
So most of them was international bouts. And then GB for a couple of years. So yeah, quite a good amateur career.
Good achievements there.
Yeah.
So when you were boxing at Heart of Portsmouth, obviously it's a local gym in the town. Who was your main sort of coaches at the time down there? Because obviously you've got Q Shillingford down there. Like I know a few of the guys down there. And I know you did quite a lot with Colin Williams, didn't you, down there? Yeah,
so Q and Colin were my coaches. Q also worked with the school and stuff, so I got kicked out of school when I was 15, and he managed to get me into the school, and I got more GCSEs and stuff. And then Colin was my other coach, and we've been to Sweden together, Ireland, Scotland. So, yeah.
Cool. What did you get kicked out of school for, if you don't mind me asking?
It was just being picked on by girls, bitchy girls, and
was it throwing that right-hander?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sticking up for myself, and it was more of like a posh school.
Was it a private school?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But it was more like in a posh area, and with like kids who sort of probably had everything, and they weren't very nice. So I found when I went to Charter Academy, which is more in the town.
Yeah.
Just such nicer people, and I turn up there, and they was expecting to have a really naughty child because they was trying to make me go to like a special behaviour school. I never once had a single detention.
Well, that's something that I wouldn't expect when, obviously, now that I know you and I've met you, because you're such a nice, pleasant girl, I wouldn't have expected you to have been kicked out of school.
Well, I was still a nice, pleasant girl. That's why, obviously, spoke to the school and said, look, she's the most dedicated, well-behaved kid I've met. She's the most dedicated in the gym. She was just sort of getting picked on and got to a point.
Yeah, it's tough.
And so they sort of like trusted him, and they let me in the school, give me a chance. And I never had a single like detention in all the 2 years. So luckily they let me in, and I actually got some GCSEs because I wouldn't have.
Fair play to you. What did you get? Did you get a few GCSEs? Did you
got
do well?
People don't believe me, but I got A stars in like English and English literature, language. Yeah, I got some good GCSEs. Yeah.
Fair play to you. You got A stars.
Yeah.
That's good going.
Yeah, but I think people believe it. I think people want to see proof.
Well, have you got certificates on you?
No.
I only actually got one A to C in school.
Did
so
you?
School wasn't ready for me.
Yeah.
I got an A in
I never thought I would, but like the last sort of bit, I used to stay behind after school, and they used to put a lot of time into me to help me catch up and stuff like that. So.
Fair play to you from having that experience at the start to have turned it back around. So you boxed for Heart of Portsmouth. So you had a very amazing amateur career. Like say 65 fights, 60 wins. GB. So you then got selected. Did you get selected for the GB at Heart of Portsmouth, or after you'd left Heart of Portsmouth?
So I was boxing for England when I was at Heart of Portsmouth when I was 15 to the age of 17. I left home at 17, joined the army, and then whilst I was in the army, I got onto Team GB. So I was in the Royal Engineers in the army, but they were very supportive. So I was on Team GB for a couple of years. I won the ABAs whilst in the army. And from that, I got my trials, and and then eventually made it to the podium squad, which is the squad that they pushed to go to the Olympics.
Yeah, so you were pretty much on the cusp of going to the Olympics.
Yeah, going to the qualifiers. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, amazing. I know something that you've spoke about recently is weight. That when you boxed in the GB squad and were on the GB team, that they were so strict in regards to the weight that you were boxing at. Because you were boxing at 51 kilos.
So the Olympic weights, how it works, it was 51 kilos straight to 57. And when I got onto Team GB, I was boxing at 54 kilos.
Yeah.
So they said, look, Ebonie, you can be the one to like aim to go to the qualifiers, like if you make 51 kilos. And obviously the dream from a kid was to go to the Olympics. So I was just sort of lying to myself and them saying that, yeah, I can make 51 easy and stuff like that, because I really wanted to go. And but in the end, I made it once for the World Championships in 2018 November, and I literally had to starve myself to get there.
Yeah. I followed you during that
really
during
had
that time.
to starve myself to get there.
I followed your dad's account.
Yeah.
For all your fights into the build-up.
Yeah.
But
I won 2 fights out there, and in the third fight got robbed against India,
you did.
which was like all that hard work to make that weight. And then from there, where I had to sort of literally starve myself so bad, it was hard to sort of ever try and make that weight again, because of what I had to put my body through.
Definitely.
So I ballooned right up after that, and even struggled to make 54 because of doing that to my body.
Because one thing that I've noticed on one of your interviews is you said that you actually had a sit down chat with Rob McCracken at the time, that said, and he said to you, we don't think it's fair on you, Ebonie, to try and get you to box at this weight.
Yeah.
And you're at a bit of a crossroads in regards to like where you went.
Yeah.
You've said yourself, you've documented that he said that you used to come in and look like you're ready to go to the electric chair.
Yeah, every Monday, obviously, I used to dread it. You're walking in, they're going to weigh you, and I was in like a bit of a bad mindset. I walked in the gym, and I think everyone was like talking about me and stuff, and I was so paranoid. Obviously, and as well, struggling to make the weight. But yeah, he pulled me to the side, and he said, look, we're going to have to take you off. if you get near 51, you can come back at any time. But he said it's not fair. Obviously, you can see that you're sort of struggling and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just felt like my whole world had ended right there and then.
And how old were you then?
21.
21.
I'm sure I was 21. Yeah, I felt like my whole world had ended there and then. I remember driving back from Sheffield to what was it, Portsmouth? No, it's to Aldershot when I was in the army. And yeah, it was awful. And at first I had the mindset of how I'm going to get to 51 and get back on GB, but it was not healthy.
So as a young female, 21, you've got your life's plan. You've had a massive achievement in regards to your amateur build-up. You've got yourself on the GB team. You're being headlined to possibly go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
When that gets taken away from you and you're 21 and you're told that you can't, it's not healthy for you to box at that way, and you're in theory taken off the GB team. Yeah. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was hard to deal with because at the same time with this, I had other things going on. I was in like an abusive relationship, which I finally got out of, but that was all going on at the same time. It was hard to deal with, yeah, because like I said, it's like my whole world had come crashing down. Like I still had my family, yes, and I still had like my health and stuff like that. But for me, boxing was everything. The professional side of it, like me turning professional, wasn't an option for women really at that time. Yeah. So it was just sort of, for me, it was over. It was like my purpose in life had sort of ended. So yeah, it was really hard to deal with.
So this was, how many years ago was this?
This was in 2019.
2019. So you're only really going back a couple of years, maybe 3 years. So women's boxing sort of exploded over the last 3 years, hasn't it? Yeah. Because I've done a bit of research in regards to the women's boxing side, and you've got Jane Couch, who's a massive promoter that's basically just spearheaded women's boxing. Yeah. Because if you go back to the 90s, women's boxing was pretty much illegal in Britain. It was mainly in America.
Yeah, I think it must.
It's crazy.
It can be hard at times now. Well, not so much now, but even a couple of years ago, let alone when she was boxing. It must have been hard.
Yeah, she's a pretty amazing woman. I know she's got a book out, which I wouldn't mind reading, because the struggles and the difficulties she must have come up against during that process is pretty unbelievable. And you've probably got women like yourself, Katie Taylor, a lot of the women that have now turned over pro on the big stage that have got Jane Couch to thank for so much, for really running with it single-handedly when everything was against her. Yeah. Really tough. But
on my debut, I was one before the main event. And obviously Boxer I'm signed with, they've got lots of females, it's getting equal.
So your debut, Wembley Arena, 20,000 people. So I might struggle with the pronunciation here. So I'm going to go with Vida Masiakate.
Yeah, I think it's Masiakate.
Masiakate.
But I might be saying it wrong. Yeah, she's from Lithuania. She'd had 17 pro fights.
Yeah, she was quite a seasoned pro and very big for the weight.
Well, she isn't at weight. She was. So basically, I was supposed to be having my debut against Beck Connolly at featherweight.
I did pick up on that.
Yeah, she pulled out. So they've got Vida, who normally boxes at super feather. She fought Natasha Jonas at the weekend.
I did notice that.
And they're bigger than me. Yeah. So that's why she was so tall. It's funny because obviously with the face-off.
How tall is she? Do you know?
I don't know, but the face-off I was like that.
Yeah, because she looked like double your size on fight night. She looked huge.
But people were making jokes on Twitter and stuff like that, but I knew in my head like not to. I just laughed at it because I've always fought taller girls. Yeah, yeah. So it's just I'm made to fight taller people.
Definitely. How did you find it in there? Did you love every minute of it? Were you nervous?
I wasn't as nervous as I thought because I'd had 3 years out the ring. All that like stuff going on where I wasn't boxing, didn't know I'd box again. I was just been dreaming of that moment, walking out Wembley Arena, fighting on Sky Sports.
You did amazing.
Could have never imagined that, So I didn't actually, I just thought I'm not going to let nerves get in the way now and ruin it.
3 years out of the ring, stepping in on that sort of occasion. Yeah. The fight before the main event, God, it must have been nerve-wracking.
Well, it was. I thought I was going to have maybe a little warm-up fight on the pier.
Yeah. Well,
but I didn't. Well, nice. I'm not obviously not complaining. It couldn't have asked for a better debut.
Definitely. I think you did really well. Yeah. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
In regards to your boxing style, so there's been lots of comparisons to Tyson. Like you say, you've learnt that Tyson style, the sort of bobbing and weaving and the peekaboo style. You can see that in your fights. When I watch you, I see sort of comparisons to Golovkin.
Yeah.
The way that you come forward, you plant your feet, and your heavy power punches. You're training your base now up at Guildford Gym with Johnny Edwards.
Yeah.
How would you compare your style? You're pretty unique in regards to women's boxing because you're a power puncher, and I've heard all the stories that you're bashing all the blokes up at the Guildford Gym. How would you compare your style to other boxers that are out there? Male or female?
Yeah, I just think I've got quite an aggressive style. Obviously in my debut you could see a bit of that, but that definitely wasn't the best of me. So I'll have a lot more fights next year, and you can see like a bit more of that. But yeah, I'm aggressive, but I can also box as well as fight. I can be quite technical too. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of head movement. I try and make myself hard to hit as possible. I want to have a long career. I don't want to have a bashed up face. So
no,
I've moved my head well enough for now. My nose used to get popped every week when I was young.
But your footwork's really good as well. So you got the skills in regards to you've got your amateur background, you've got your GB style, you've got your footwork, you've got your head movements, and you can bang.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot going for you.
Yeah.
The transition from amateur boxing to professional boxing is obviously different because it's a lot more of a power punching sport, whereas the amateur style's a lot more point scoring.
Well, you want to be stopping people, really, don't you? You want to be people want to see that.
I definitely think they're going to get that with you going forward, just because of your style. I think.
Yeah. Hopefully stopping a few people with some nice body punches.
Well, one of the fights that I think intrigues me in regards to you is Shannon Courtenay. I think Shannon Courtenay is a come-forward fighter, doesn't really take a backward step, absolutely loves a scrap. I think you two together, head-to-head, would be an amazing fight. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't really think it would be like a keep head-to-head. I do think I would beat Shannon Courtenay, to be honest. I've been on sparred her before when she was at Islington, the amateurs, like a few years ago now. And I was quite surprised, really, when she got a world title, which is fair play, but it would be a good fight, because obviously I'd love to have a world title.
So Shannon Courtenay, if you're out there, we're ready for you.
I think everyone. So she's probably sick of everyone sort of calling her out, because I think everyone is, because people, when you've got the world title, people want that, don't they? So, well, she hasn't got it now. Actually, she got beat. She
got beat by Jamie Mitchell, didn't she?
Yeah, that'd be a good fight.
Mitchell is a very, very great. I thought she's a great technical fighter, because she boxes out of Mayweather's gym, doesn't she? Is that right?
I think so.
In America, yeah. But she, when I watched that last fight, I was really impressed with Mitchell. I thought Mitchell was class. She's ripped,
proper ripped.
Yeah. She looks really strong for the weight. Yeah. For the weight. So to explain for anyone that doesn't know, women's boxing is obviously completely different to men's boxing in regards to the weights. You've only really got about 4 or 5 weights in women's
in the amateurs.
Boxing. So in the pros,
you can box. That's why it's so good. I can box whatever I want to.
So how do the weights work in pro boxing for women?
So you've got featherweight, super bantam, bantam. So you can move up and down.
So they are as strict as they are with
it's as strict, but obviously with amateurs you can box at the different weight categories, but when it gets to the Olympics, it would say it was like a big jump between the categories. Whereas if you go into the ABAs and the amateurs, you can box at all the weights, but Olympics had the selected weights, and obviously the end goal for being an amateur is the Olympics. So, definitely. But whereas in the pro game, you can win a world title at these different weights. So
domestically, who have you got in your weight cat? So you could fight Tasha Jonas.
No, she's too heavy.
But then she fought.
Yeah, but the reason is because I had to end up fighting at a catch weight because Beck Connolly pulled out and they got me another opponent.
Yeah.
They made the fight at 58 kilos rather than featherweight, so I had to end up fighting someone heavier. So really, I'll never be that weight. So 57 is the heaviest.
So you want to be fighting around 54, did you say?
So you got super bantam, which is about 55.5 kilos, and then featherweight 57 kilos.
So who in that weight division domestically?
Yeah.
Would you want to be matched up against anybody?
Anyone, to be honest. Yeah, anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting. There's a good competition in it now. Obviously, super bantam. I think. I don't know. I wouldn't forced myself to sort of make bantamweight. I don't know if I'd make bantamweight again. I'm not too sure, but obviously I'll have a few at featherweight, a few at super bantam, and just that's what I mean. I can choose now. I can see how it goes.
So the Beck Connolly fight, that didn't happen. Is that something that might happen in the future for you?
Yeah, definitely.
And you fancy that one?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Obviously, Beck Connolly now, even though she's been beat by a lot of the good girls, she's fought on like fight camp. She's fought on Matchroom and stuff. So obviously her value's gone up. So she probably thought, I'm not going to fight Ebony for a debut. She probably wouldn't get offered enough. I don't know. She probably didn't get offered enough. Whereas she'd already fought on like Matchroom and stuff like that. So I think it's something she'd take for a later date.
You're a hot prospect coming up, and anybody that knows your amateur background and your achievements would probably avoid you coming up. Anybody domestically would have heard of you and would know you anyway.
Yeah.
So you joined the army. So you left GB, and then you went to work because you were obviously working as a boxer in the army.
Yeah.
And then you went to work as a proper job in the army.
Yeah.
So what gave you the kick up the arse to go, right, I've had that knockback.
Yeah.
It's put me in a difficult place. You're quite open about how much it's affected you in regards to mental health.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a person out there in life that hasn't been affected by mental health. It's such a big subject at the moment.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how it affected you and what made you think to yourself, I'm still a young, successful woman, I'm going to pick myself back up and I'm going to get back on it?
Yeah, so when I got took off GB, I thought there's no point in just coasting on the army boxing team for years. I know I could win the ABA title each year, but my own goal was Olympics. And if I couldn't do that, I thought, don't want to box at all. So I went back to work in the army, back with my regiment in Tidworth, 2-6 Engineer Regiment. I went to Belize for a couple of months. We had to come back because of COVID. But then I was just sort of, although I had a good job, I was like back to work in the army, I just couldn't handle the fact that I was just at the very top I could be, down till I just felt like a failure. So I was just absolutely like rock bottom, and I couldn't have got no lower than that, to be honest. So I just sort of, I don't know, just one day thought, I'm going to go down. I went down up to the Guildford gym, Guildford City with Johnny Edwards, and I just sort of picked myself up. I just thought there was a few people I want to prove wrong, the people who tried to get me down. I thought, do you know what, I could really make something of myself. So I started training again, and obviously got the deal with Boxer.
Amazing.
And then 1 year later, from being rock bottom, I'm fighting on Sky Sports. When I had my debut, a year before that, I was in the bloody mental hospital, so people didn't know that. Me even being back boxing was amazing, let alone having my debut on Sky Sports. That's one hell of a comeback. I had 3 years out of the ring. To be honest, when I'm trying to think of the timeline now, it is a blur. Having 3 years out of the ring, it actually went it was like a blur.
Well, life's sort of fight, flight or freeze, isn't it? And sometimes in your bad situations, you can be in a hole for such a long period.
Oh yeah, I was stuck in such a hole. Yeah, I just thought, when is it going to end?
And not realise till you come out of it and you look back and think to yourself,
yeah,
what happened for the last year or two?
Yeah.
So what sort of advice would you give to any young ladies that are in a similar situation?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to look like you've got everything sorted from the outside.
Yeah.
But when people go in and close their doors, people are dealing with a lot of different things.
Yeah. From social media, you'd have thought I was just a normal young girl and stuff like that. But I'd be posting things just sort of laying in my bed which I hadn't moved on from in days. And then it's just, I'd just say, it sounds like a cliche, but there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Always get better. Always. I didn't think it would. And I had a friend in the army who'd sort of been there for me. And he said to me, I was trying to think of it now, don't do a permanent solution for a temporary problem. And when he told me it, I just didn't want to listen to it now, but it's so true. Like a permanent solution for a temporary problem, it was just temporary, what I was feeling.
Yeah.
It lasted quite a long time, and it did get better, then worse. Then I thought, when is it going to end? But it does, and a year later, from when I was my lowest, I'm having my debut and everything's turned around.
Well, well done to you for that,
thanks.
massively.
Yeah,
because like I said to you before when we was chatting earlier, what you probably don't realise is for a lot of girls in the city, we live in Portsmouth, it's quite a rough city.
Yeah.
People do struggle through school, people do struggle through college, people do struggle through work, people do struggle in life. Your story and what you're doing is a bit of an inspiration to people.
Yeah.
The young girls that are coming up, you'll get a lot of young girls that are coming up that are looking at you and thinking, well, Ebonie's on Sky Sports. She's just boxed live at Wembley Arena. She's absolutely flying, but she's had her hardships and managed to come out the other side.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, things still happen in life, but I just sort of know how to deal with it now. When I've been rock bottom, I just think, oh, well, I've been through things, I'll go through this sort of thing. And another thing with boxing, people don't realise it is a very lonely sport. Like, it's so lonely because even if you are, say you're in a relationship and even it gets to the weekend and you decide to go out or whatever, you still got to be the one who's not, you just sort of, you're on your own all the time and you're sat there thinking of your opponent and you're going to be the one who's fighting in front of 1,000 people, just them two in the ring, and everyone around you's having a good time and you feel guilty for even having a good time, you think, because my opponent might not be having fun right now and they're not going to help you when you're there in the ring. So it's just sort of a lonely sport. You've got to sacrifice relationships, friends to sort of have that sort of life. So because to be a world champion, you've got to be doing things different to what other normal people would do.
Dedication's massive.
Yeah.
Obviously, you turned pro, you went under the promotion banner of boxer. Were you approached by anybody else at all? Any other big names?
I wasn't, actually.
Was you not?
No,
I'm quite surprised at that.
I'd like to say that I was. But, well, no, obviously with Matchroom, obviously they've got some good females, but a lot of the time I think it's all about your profile. They like people with a big profile. They like people with a lot of social media followers.
Yeah.
Obviously, Boxer looked at my amateur record and at my pedigree and chose me based on that. And they've done the marketing side for me. They've promoted me so well. They've obviously put me one before the main event. I couldn't have had better exposure.
I think going forward, as I say, as you are at the moment, so how many Instagram followers have you got at the moment?
So I went from like 2,500 straight overnight to 6,500.
Was that after your debut?
From after my debut, yeah.
Okay.
Just went like that all of a sudden.
So you got 6,500 followers. So,
which ain't really like compared to. Well, it's not really a lot nowadays, is it? But
it's a profile sport, isn't it? At the end of the day, so you've got to raise your profile. You've got to self promote. Yeah. One of the main things about you that I think is great is you're such an understated person. You're certainly not a big time Charlie. You don't even really blow your own trumpet.
No. Well, I just think like the amount of times I've been there, you go through life and people like talk about themselves constantly, and no one's interested. So I don't even like obviously I work in a bar a couple nights a week, or in a pub a couple nights a week, and people always like I don't really talk about it unless people come to me and like want to talk about boxing. And sometimes I think, God, all I keep doing is talking about myself. People must think she's just got like massive hair. But it's people who's interested and they want to talk about it, I'll talk about it with them. But yeah, I was just like conscious of that. I don't want to seem like I think I'm all that.
Oh, certainly not. I think anybody that knows you knows that you're a humble person at the end of the day. So sponsorship locally, one thing that shocked me is when you had your pro debut, you didn't have a great deal of local sponsors.
No.
So who have you got? How does that work? And little shout out to anyone in Portsmouth, business-wise. Ebonie is openly looking for sponsors that she will promote during her fights. Obviously market on her shorts and her sportswear for the fights. So if you're a small business or a large business in Portsmouth and you want to be involved with Ebonie, personally, I think she's going to be a future world champ. So connect with her on Instagram and get in touch.
Yeah, so obviously, like, after my fight, it was in October, and now it's a few months till I could potentially be having another fight, end of Jan, start of Feb. So obviously, no income until then is quite hard. So I had to get a part-time job, and obviously I put a post out about people who want to sponsor me. like full-time sponsors are the ones obviously when you got a monthly, because when you haven't got a fight date,
sure,
just yet. So you want people sort of like, so we've got Martin from Staple Garage who's sponsoring me, like a full-time sponsor, and sort of like he's took a chance and obviously believes in me, and obviously people who want to help me out just means so much because he doesn't have to do that. I didn't have a fight date even when he said Ebony, we're going to sponsor you monthly and stuff, so obviously it does mean a lot to me when people want to help me out like that.
Definitely, that's really nice. Where's Staples Garage?
Staple Garage, it's just off Albert Road. I want to say Northcote Road, but it's off Albert Road.
Yeah.
So, and
it's Northcote Road. Yeah, I recognise.
Yeah, and he's just sat on the track for me, so he's been a lifesaver.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Definitely.
But you need more people like that on board in the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like I say, Portsmouth Boxing, we've had our pros over the years, sort of Tony Oakey, Paul Morby's. You've now got yourself that's absolutely cooking on gas.
Yeah.
You've got Mikey McKinson who's flying.
Yeah. It's like Mikey's the male boxer from Portsmouth, and then you got me coming through. And the thing is,
Mark Chamberlain.
Oh yeah, Mark
is
Chamberlain
doing really well.
Yeah.
He's flying.
Yeah.
But Portsmouth Boxing really seems to have taken off over sort of the last couple of years, because you would have boxed with Mikey, wouldn't you?
Mikey was at Heart Portsmouth for a little bit, and the good thing is with Mikey, like he didn't have a massive amateur career, and he's had to do it the hard way.
Definitely.
And finally got his like sort of big break, so he's earned it.
Very underrated fighter.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it must have been frustrating. A lot of people probably would have given up.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough game, isn't it? It's a really tough game.
I was quite fortunate, whereas my debut was televised, so I'm really lucky for that.
Well, you're flying.
Yeah.
As I say, obviously this is our first episode. When you're world champion, probably in 10 fights, we're going to get you back in.
Yeah.
And we're going to do another interview which tells a story further down the line, because we think that you're going to go all the way and be world champion.
Yeah, I hope so.
So what does the future hold for you then, Ebony? Where do you see the next year or 2 years going, and your boxing career going?
So obviously I'd love to win a world title, no rush to do that. I just want to keep fighting regularly, and sort of people know I am, see I am, sort of respect me as a fighter, like the way they do Katie Taylor or Savannah Marshall. So yeah, just I don't really know what else to say for the future. Obviously things like, it isn't all about the money, but it'd be nice to be able to get that sort of break where I can have my own place. And I've always sort of lived in army barracks, or say I'm living at my nan's at the minute, and my stuff's always been like packed away in like suitcases, boxes. So just that little thing of like being able to have my own place and do all my training and stuff like that, like would be good.
You'll get there.
Looking to the future,
100%.
And just know that I earn it myself and it's mine. So
you're dedicated, you're talented, you're strong-willed. Look where you've come from.
Yeah.
Like you say, you've hit rock bottom, and now you're heading to the top of the mountain again. So you keep cracking on and keep doing what you're doing, and you keep being you.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, cheers, Chris.
Nice one. Oh, as it's Christmas, we've got something for you.
You didn't have to get me nothing.
There's a little Christmas present. You're probably not allowed to have this. But you might be able to.
Depends where my fight is, but I can always have it after it.
But that's for you.
Oh, thank you.
Coming on for the first little episode for us.
Thank
you. But you can maybe open that on Christmas Day and have a glass, and then go back to the gym for Boxing Day.
Oh, thank you for that.
Go from there. All right, Eb?
Yeah.
We wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thanks.
And keep doing what you're doing, all right?
Thank you.
Nice one.